welcome to another weekly update. Hope you're doing well. Some interesting things happening this week. So first of all, I spoke last week about the changes to apps for e-meeting apps being available in kind of one-to-one peer-to-peer calls and group calls as well. And so I've written that up as a blog post. So if you wanted a bit more information about what we spoke about last week regarding that and how your existing in-meeting apps that you've already written can be used in one-to-one calls and group calls, and how you can tell the difference between, how your app can tell the difference, whether it's in a group call, whether it's in a meeting, whether it's in, anything else like that, then go check out that blog post because it's got some of that detail in it. So that's kind of the first thing I wanted to point out. There's a new blog post out on my blog about that. But we talked about it last week because it was kind of new in last week and I hadn't had a chance to write up the blog post. So good reason for listening to these because you get the news before the blogs. So that was that. Other things that have happened in the last 7 days. There's been an update to the Create online meeting call, the API call in Graph. This is just for the beta endpoint, so the V1 is not affected, but for the beta one, it's been updated so you can now create a meeting with a passcode. So passcodes, being able to create a meeting with a passcode is something that's kind of been rolling out across Teams. And now in the API, you can programmatically create a meeting with a passcode. Just beta endpoint at the moment. So just be aware of that. It's not in the V1, but there's a good example as well. So the Create Online Meeting page, documentation page, which I'll link to in the notes, has been updated with a new example showing you how you can create a meeting with a passcode. And the passcode information is also now returned in the response from creating a meeting. You get that information as well. So that's really good, really useful. If you want to create meetings with passcodes, I guess. Okay, kind of something big on the Azure Communication Services side of things, which is a public preview for raw media access for voice and video calling. Now, this is really interesting. I'm going to refer to my notes up here. So apologies, I'm going to kind of move you out of the way. This is interesting. So this is a public preview. So it's been in private preview for a while, but now anybody can do this. If you have the JavaScript SDK, the new calling JavaScript SDK, and there's a really interesting way now that you can access the raw audio. This is just, I don't know. So let's come back up, take a couple of steps back before I dive into this. So Azure Communication Services allows you to create meeting spaces and join those, and also calls between people and also group calls. And up until now, that's been quite programmatic in the API calls. You can join, you can leave, you can transfer. You haven't really been able to get access to the raw media before. This public preview changes some of that. You can now do that. And the access, they're doing access to the audio first before the video, okay? I guess that's a kind of slightly simpler use case to think about. But now you can access the raw audio of meetings and of different streams in those meetings. So as an example, let's do an example because that kind of helps me certainly understand some of this capability. And this is a sample that Microsoft have released, the Azure Communication Services team have released as well. So in this sample, this can be a team, like a group call happening in Azure Communication Services, but you've got an end user who speaks a different language to the rest of the people on the meeting. So let's call them English and French. So the French user, they can mute the incoming audio of the English audio. They can mute that programmatic. It won't affect everyone else. They can just mute for themselves. And then they can have a bot join the meeting, which is also accessing that same media and speaking the French translation. And they can, that French user can have that audio just for them, not for anyone else in the meeting. So you can control the media streams. People with long memories will remember you used to be able to do this in UCMA. You used to be able to control the audio streams in UCMA of different media. So you could do Whisper, you could do Bargin, and some other kind of contact center things like that. You could also mess with the audio. So you could play an audio to one person that no one else in the meeting heard. It was great for April Fool's jokes. But yeah, that was capability that UCMA had. Something similar to that is now coming to Azure Communication Services. And just to kind of complete the loop on that sample, when that user, the French user we spoke about, when they speak, the audio can be picked up there. The bot can pick it up. They can, without it going to the whole of the rest of the meeting, the bot can then create an English translation and speak that into the call so everyone else, apart from the French user, hears it. So potentially amazing as a feature, as a service. Really kind of interesting. And it's a combination of back end and front end working together, because there's a lot happening on the client side here. This is kind of different to UCMA, which was very server based, and all of those routings and all of that audio manipulation was happening on the server side with the MCU. This is kind of much more disparate, much more distributed, because actually it's the client application doing an awful lot of that media work. So for that French user, it's the client application that is deciding not to give the French user some of the stuff from the meeting, to be able to capture local microphone stuff and send it off to the cloud and backend. So there's a lot more reliance on the client. I actually think that's a good thing. I think it makes it more accessible for developers to work with. It unlocks a lot of interesting scenarios that weren't possible before. So very excited to see that come. I think this plus Azure Cognitive Services for things like translation and sentiment are really interesting and exciting. And so, yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of how people go with this and how it works. I would love to take this sample and kind of make a video out of it. We'll have to see if I can get time to do that this over the summer, maybe over the summer break. We'll see how that works. But yeah, really interesting. I think if you want something to do this week, go and check out this this announcement. Go and check out the sample. Try getting the sample up and running, because I think you'll be really surprised. It looks really cool, and it's one of those. I think if you can get it working as a demo, it would be amazing to give as a demo, because it really shows people the possibility, you know, kind of what's possible and what you can do. But yeah, really cool. Very exciting. So that is a big public preview for Azure Communication Services, this kind of raw media access stuff. Very exciting. And finally, quickly, a post from Mary Jo Foley, all about Microsoft. Azure capacity. And this is something you may have been impacted by. I've been impacted by it. The fact that you can't just create what you want in Azure, which is interesting, because that's kind of that's always been one of the USPs, if you like, of Azure or cloud, is that you can spin up, spin down, whatever you want. You just pay for what you're using. You spin it up as much and quickly as you want to go to a demand. And if you're an indie sole developer and you suddenly want to have, you know, the power of 100 workstations or 100 servers to serve your thing that's just kind of blown up on Hacker News or whatever overnight, you can do that. You can mostly still do that. Azure has capacity limitations in play right now, and it's just reflecting like the reality of the whole of the rest of the world right now as well, and the challenges we all have. But Mary Jo's got a really good blog post up about what you can do about it, the fact that we're all in this boat together, but also what can businesses do to try and plan for it in the medium to long term as well. All right, that's everything from me. Have a great week. It's super hot and sunny in the UK, which is good for me. I like it like that. But whatever the weather is for you, whether you like it or not, I hope you have a great week, whatever it is you're doing, and I will talk to you again next time.